I saw her walk into the Gulf like she had an appointment under the water. That was the first thing that hit me. Not panic. Not crying. Not some big scene on the sand. Just a woman in a dark business suit, shoes still on, hair pinned back like she had come from a meeting, stepping straight through the low morning surf without slowing down. My son Tyler was beside me, trying to dig a trench around a sandcastle with a red plastic shovel. "Dad," he said. I was already standing. The beach was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet we got before the rental families came down with coolers and umbrellas. A couple of joggers were farther north. One older man was fishing near the rocks. Nobody else seemed to notice her at first. But I noticed. I noticed because I had seen that kind of walking before. Years earlier, before my wife Sarah passed, there had been a morning when she wandered out of our house and kept going toward the bay behind my brother's place. She had been sick by then, confused in ways that scared me more than any diagnosis ever had. Her body moved like it had instructions her mind didn't fully understand. This woman moved the same way. "Tyler, stay here," I said. He looked up at me, shovel frozen in his hand. "Dad, stay right here. Don't move." I ran. The sand grabbed at my feet. The water slapped cold around my ankles, then my knees, then my waist. She was already chest deep, still moving. Not fighting the waves. Not swimming. Just walking like the whole world behind her had gone silent. "Hey," I shouted. "Hey, stop." She didn't turn. I caught her by the arm just as a swell lifted against both of us. She was lighter than I expected and colder than she should have been. When I pulled her around, her eyes moved to my face, but I could tell she wasn't really seeing me. "Ma'am, look at me," I said. "You're in the water." Her lips parted. No words came out. Another wave hit us, and she buckled. I got one arm around her ribs and hauled her back, half dragging, half carrying her through the water. She didn't resist. That almost scared me more. People usually push, grab, curse, something. She just folded against me like every string in her had been cut. By the time I got her onto the sand, Tyler was standing there crying without making noise. "It's okay," I told him, though I wasn't sure it was. "Back up, buddy. Give her room." The woman coughed once, not hard. She hadn't swallowed much water. Her problem wasn't the Gulf. Her problem had started long before she reached it. She stared up at the gray sky. "What's your name?" I asked. "Nothing." I checked her pulse with 2 fingers at her wrist. Fast. Too fast. Her skin was pale under the beach light, her hands trembling in tiny movements she didn't seem aware of. Her suit was expensive, soaked, and covered in sand. One heel was gone. "Can you hear me?" I asked. Her eyes shifted again. "Claire," she whispered. "All right, Claire. I'm Alex. That's my son Tyler. You're safe on the beach." She closed her eyes like the word safe took too much effort to understand. The older fisherman had come over by then. He asked if we needed emergency services. I told him to call, then changed my mind when Claire's hand suddenly gripped my wrist. "No hospital," she said. Her voice was rough and thin, but the fear in it was real. "You need help," I said. "No hospital. Please." I should have ignored that. Any sensible man would have. But I looked at her face, and I saw a woman who was not trying to make trouble. She looked emptied out, like she had been awake for days and had finally reached the edge of herself. I asked the fisherman to hold off for a minute and told Tyler to grab my towel. We wrapped it around her shoulders, and I sat with her until her breathing got steadier. She kept apologizing, but not like a person embarrassed by a scene. More like a person trained to apologize for taking up space. There was a small diner 2 blocks off the beach, the kind with vinyl booths, bad ceiling fans, and coffee strong enough to wake construction workers before sunrise. I got Claire there in my truck with Tyler sitting in the back, watching her through the rearview mirror like she might disappear if he looked away. Inside, she sat across from us in the booth, towel around her shoulders, wet hair falling loose now. The waitress, Marla, knew me and didn't ask questions. She brought coffee, water, toast, and eggs before I even ordered. Claire stared at the plate. "When did you last eat?" I asked. She tried to answer. Couldn't. "Yesterday." Her fingers tightened around the mug. "Day before." She looked down. Tyler pushed the toast closer to her. "You can have mine too. I don't like the crust." Claire looked at him then. Really looked. Something in her face shifted, small but clear. "Thank you," she said. That was the first time her voice sounded like it belonged to a person and not a recording played too quietly. She ate 3 bites and had to stop. I didn't push. I just kept her coffee warm and asked simple things. Did she have family nearby? No. A friend? She looked at me like I had asked a complicated question. Someone from work? At that, she laughed once, dry and almost bitter. I have thousands of people from work, she said. That's not the same thing. Her phone was gone. So was her purse. All she had was a slim watch on her wrist that looked like it cost more than my truck. Then Marla came over holding her own phone. Alex, she said quietly, is this her? On the screen was a local alert shared from some news account. Missing executive. Claire Ashford. Last seen near Gulf Point. Family and company representatives deeply concerned. A reward for information. A number for private security. The photo showed the same woman in front of a glass building, calm and sharp in a white blazer, the kind of woman nobody interrupted. The woman across from me looked at the screen and went still. Tyler leaned against my side. Is she famous? Claire's face had gone flat again. That went out fast, she said. I looked from the phone to her. Who are these people? My company, she said. You're missing? Her mouth twisted like the word didn't fit. Apparently. Marla lowered the phone. Honey, should we call that number? Claire looked at me, and for the first time since the water, I saw something clear behind her eyes. Not weakness. Calculation. Fear too, but organized now. If you call that number, she said, they will know exactly where I am. That's the point, isn't it? I asked. She held my gaze. Not if they're the reason I ended up here. Write in the comments. If I had called that number right then, would I have been protecting her, or handing her back to the people she feared? The diner noise seemed to drop away around us. Forks on plates. Coffee pouring. Tyler breathing beside me. I had spent years keeping my life small. Work sites, school pickup, groceries, bedtime. I fixed broken beams and leaky pipes. I did not get involved with missing women whose names made news alerts light up across the coast. But I also knew what it looked like when the wrong people called control concern. Claire pushed the plate away with a shaking hand. I just need a little time. A day. Maybe less. Somewhere they won't look first. I thought about my house. The guest room with Sarah's old quilt. Tyler's Lego bins in the hall. The quiet I had protected so hard it had started to feel like a wall. Then Tyler spoke before I did. She can sleep in the guest room, he said. Right, Dad? Claire looked at him like that simple offer had landed harder than the waves. I rubbed both hands over my face. Every instinct I had said to drive her to professionals, make the call, step away. But another instinct, older and sharper, told me she would be handed right back to whatever machine had pushed her to the water in the first place. 24 hours, I said. You eat. You sleep. You call someone you trust on speaker. And if I think you're in real danger, I'm calling for help whether you like it or not. Claire nodded once. Outside, the sun had finally broken through the clouds, bright on the wet pavement and my old truck. I opened the passenger door for her. She paused before getting in and looked back toward the beach. I didn't mean to go that far, she said. I know, I told her. And the strange thing was, I did. By the time we got to my house, Claire could barely keep her eyes open. She sat in the passenger seat with both hands folded in her lap, still wrapped in my beach towel, staring at the road like she was trying to memorize every mailbox. My place was 10 minutes inland from the beach, a small one-story house with faded blue shutters, a cracked driveway, and a basketball hoop Tyler used mostly for hanging beach buckets. It wasn't much, but it was clean, paid for, and quiet. Claire looked at it through the windshield. This is your home? She asked. Yeah. It feels... She stopped, like she didn't know what word was allowed. Small. I said. Real. I didn't know what to do with that, so I got out and opened Tyler's door. Inside, I gave her the guest room. It still had Sarah's old quilt folded across the bed, yellow and white squares, a little worn at the corners. I almost moved it before Claire came in, but Tyler ran ahead and pulled the curtains shut like he was preparing a hotel room. This bed is comfy, he told her. Sometimes I sleep here when I'm sick. Claire stood in the doorway, barefoot now, holding the towel around her shoulders. You don't have to. You need sleep, I said. Bathrooms across the hall. I'll leave clothes outside the door. They won't be fancy. She gave me the smallest smile. That might be good. I found an old t-shirt from a roofing job and a pair of gray sweatpants with a drawstring. When I set them outside the bathroom, I heard the shower turn on. Then I stood in the hall longer than I meant to, listening to the water run, feeling like my house had shifted under my feet. Tyler whispered from the kitchen, "Is she going to be okay?" I hope so. She looked like Mom in the picture from the hospital. That hit me in a place I wasn't ready for. I crouched down in front of him. She's tired, buddy. That's all we know. But she can stay today? Today, yes. He nodded seriously, like we had signed a contract. Claire slept for almost 16 hours. Not straight through at first. Around noon, I checked the hallway and heard nothing. At 3, I brought a glass of water and left it on the nightstand. Her face was turned toward the wall, one hand tucked under her cheek, hair loose on the pillow. She looked younger asleep. Not young exactly, just less armored. At 5, Shannon came by without knocking, because Shannon had known me since I was 20 and believed knocking was for salesmen. She walked into the kitchen carrying a container of chicken soup and stopped when she saw the soaked suit hanging over a chair by the back door. "Alex," she said. I looked up from Tyler's homework. "Don't start." Her eyes went to the hallway. "Please tell me you did not bring home a woman from the beach like a stray dog." Tyler frowned. "She's not a dog." "I know, baby," Shannon said, then lowered her voice at me. "You know there are people looking for her, right? It's all over local pages." She was walking into the water. Shannon's face changed. She had been Sarah's friend too. She knew enough not to joke after that. "She okay?" "She's sleeping." "And you believe her?" I believe she was scared of being found too fast. Shannon leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "That is not the same thing as safe." "I know." She looked at me for a long second. "Tyler stays with me tonight if this gets weird." "It won't." "You don't know that." She was right, and we both knew it. Claire woke after dark. I was at the stove making eggs because I didn't know what else to make for someone who had probably eaten food from private chefs and hotel kitchens her whole life. Tyler was on the living room rug building a blue Lego spaceship. Shannon had stayed, mostly to glare at me and pretend she wasn't curious. Claire came down the hall in my old t-shirt and sweatpants, moving slowly, one hand touching the wall as if she didn't trust the floor yet. The clothes hung loose on her. Her hair was damp and brushed back with her fingers. Without the suit, without the watch, without that sharp public face from the photo, she looked like a woman who had misplaced her whole life. Tyler looked up. "You slept all day?" Claire blinked, then nodded. "I think I needed to." "I saved you eggs," he said. "You made eggs?" she asked. "No. Dad did." I watched. Shannon studied Claire over the rim of her coffee mug. "I'm Shannon. Neighbor. Emergency contact. Occasional voice of reason." Claire accepted that with a tired nod. "Claire." "Oh, I know." I shot Shannon a look. She ignored it. Claire sat at the kitchen table like she needed instructions. I put a plate in front of her. "Eat what you can," I said. "No performance required." That made her look up. "Sorry," I said. "Bad habit. I talk to roofers like that." "No," she said quietly. It was helpful. She ate slowly. Eggs, toast, half a banana Tyler insisted she needed because potassium is for muscles. After a few minutes, some color came back into her face. Then she asked for a phone. I set mine on the table. "Speaker." She nodded. "Speaker." Her hand hovered over the screen before she dialed from memory. The call rang twice. A man answered. "This is Marcus." Claire closed her eyes. "Marcus, it's me." Silence. Then his voice changed completely. "Where are you?" "Safe for the moment." "Claire, the board has activated emergency protocols. David is telling everyone you are medically unavailable. Your uncle signed a statement of concern. The press draft is already prepared." Her fingers tightened around the edge of the table. "How long?" "They started before anyone confirmed you were missing." Shannon and I looked at each other. Claire's face went still, but this time it wasn't emptiness. It was focus. "Who authorized the location alert?" she asked. Marcus hesitated. "Say it," Claire said. "David." Her jaw moved once. I didn't know David, but I knew the name landed hard. Claire leaned forward. "He doesn't have authority over personal security. He claimed temporary operational necessity." 2 directors backed him. "Claire," I pulled logs. "Your schedule was accessed last night by David's office and by your uncle's assistant. They knew where you were." The kitchen felt too small for the silence that followed. Tyler stopped clicking Legos together. Claire looked at him, then softened her voice. "Marcus, I'm in a private residence. A man named Alex McBride pulled me out of the Gulf this morning. His son is here. No one comes near this house unless I approve it." Marcus said, "Put him on." I almost laughed. "Me?" Claire pushed the phone toward me. I leaned over it. "This is Alex." Marcus sounded like he was measuring every breath I took. "Are you armed?" "No." "Is anyone else in the house?" "My son and our neighbor." "Do you understand the value of the person sitting at your table?" I looked at Claire. She stared back, tired but steady. "I understand she needed eggs," I said. For the first time, Claire almost smiled. Marcus went quiet. Then he said, "Keep her there. I'm coming." Claire shook her head. "Not yet. Send me everything first. Board list. David's calls. Uncle Richard's statement. Any draft release. I want facts before footsteps." "There's more," Marcus said. Her eyes sharpened. "What?" "I found a succession memo dated 11 months ago. David's name is on it." Claire didn't move. Marcus continued. "It was never circulated officially, but it references your removal, temporary leadership transfer, stockholder reassurance, media language, even a wellness narrative." Shannon whispered, "Wellness narrative?" Claire answered without looking away from the phone. A polite way to bury someone while sounding kind. Nobody spoke after that. Then Claire reached for the coffee mug in front of her, took one careful sip, and set it down. "Send the files," she said. "All of them." "And Marcus?" "Yes?" From this moment on, nobody speaks for me. When the call ended, the kitchen stayed quiet except for the old refrigerator humming. Claire looked down at her borrowed clothes, then at Tyler's Lego spaceship, then at me. "I should leave before this touches your life any more than it already has," she said. "You can barely stand." "I can think." I noticed. That got a real look from her. Not soft, not grateful, something more awake. Tyler carried his spaceship over and placed it carefully beside her plate. "This one has shields," he said. "You can borrow it." Claire stared at the crooked blue ship, and for 1 second her face almost broke. But she held it together. She picked it up like it was made of glass. "Thank you," she said. Shannon cleared her throat and looked away. "I started collecting plates because I needed something to do with my hands." Claire turned toward me. "Alex." "Yeah?" "If Marcus comes, and if I handle this from here, you don't owe me anything else." I leaned against the sink. "You keep saying things like people only help you because they owe you or work for you." She didn't answer. "That's not how this house runs," I said. Her eyes moved around my kitchen. The chipped mug by the sink. Tyler's backpack on the chair. Sarah's quilt visible down the hall through the open guest room door. All the ordinary things I had stopped seeing because they were just my life. Then Claire nodded, once, like she had made a decision inside herself. "Then I need coffee," she said. "And my files." I got the laptop from my room and set it in front of her. 10 minutes later, Claire Ashford was sitting at my kitchen table in a roofing t-shirt, my son's Lego ship beside her hand, reading through the first pieces of a year-long plan to remove her from the company she had built. And the more she read, the less she looked like a woman hiding. She looked like someone counting doors in a room she was about to walk back into. Marcus arrived just after sunrise in a black SUV that looked too clean for my street. I saw it roll past the mailbox once, slow down, then come back and stop in front of my house. Claire was already awake at the kitchen table, still in borrowed clothes, hair tied back with one of Tyler's rubber bands, because we couldn't find anything better. She had slept another 4 hours, which she claimed was enough. I told her that was nonsense. She ignored me and kept reading. By then, my kitchen had turned into something between a command center and a breakfast mess. My laptop was open. Shannon's old printer sat on the counter, coughing out pages like it hated all of us. Tyler's cereal bowl was beside a stack of documents marked confidential. A blue Lego spaceship guarded Claire's coffee. Marcus knocked twice. I opened the door and found a tall man in a dark polo, gray at the temples, with the kind of eyes that checked exits before faces. He looked past me once, saw Claire at the table, then looked back. "Alex McBride?" "Yeah." "Marcus Dinwiddie." He held up both hands, palms empty, like he was approaching a nervous animal. I almost appreciated it. Claire called from the kitchen. "He can come in." Marcus stepped inside and paused when he saw the room. Not because it was messy. Because Claire Ashford, Billionaire CEO, was barefoot at a cheap kitchen table eating toast off a chipped plate while my 7-year-old explained Lego shields to her like national security depended on it. For a second, Marcus didn't say anything. Then Tyler asked, "Are you her bodyguard?" Marcus looked at Claire. Claire said, "Yes." Tyler nodded. "Good. She needs one." Marcus's mouth twitched, but he kept it professional. He set a leather folder on the table, then a slim drive, then his phone. "I came alone," he said. "No tail. No company vehicle. I switched cars twice." Claire nodded. "Show me." He opened the folder. I tried to stay out of the way. I really did. I poured coffee, cleaned the counter, packed Tyler's lunch even though it was Saturday and he didn't need one. But the words coming out of Marcus's mouth kept pulling me back. Draft press statement. temporary leadership transition, emergency board session, medical leave language, shareholder reassurance. It was all calm, polished, and ugly in a way that didn't need raised voices. They had built a whole story around Claire before she even knew she was inside it. David Harlan, her COO, was at the center. Claire had hired him 12 years earlier, promoted him twice, defended him when other directors said he was too ambitious. Marcus laid out call logs, private calendar access, dinner meetings with 2 board members, and a memo that had been edited again and again over the past year. Claire didn't interrupt much. She just asked sure questions. Who saw this? Who approved that language? Which directors were copied? Where did Richard's name first appear? Richard was her uncle, her father's younger brother. Claire had mentioned him once the night before, then shut down so hard I didn't press. Marcus slid one page toward her. This is the stock transfer concern. Claire read it and went very still. What does that mean? I asked before I could stop myself. Claire looked up. For a second I thought she might tell me it was company business. Instead, she turned the page so I could see it, though half the words could have been in another language for all I understood. Richard holds a block of family shares, she said. Not enough to control the company. Enough to influence close votes. Marcus tapped the paper. 3 months ago, that block was pledged against a private loan. Claire's face tightened. Richard doesn't borrow money. He did this time. From who? Marcus didn't answer right away. Claire's voice went colder. From who? A fund connected to David's brother-in-law. The room went quiet. Shannon, who had come over again with muffins and the excuse that Tyler liked them, muttered, "That sounds illegal." Claire leaned back. Not illegal enough. That's the point. I watched her face while she read the next page. Anger was there, sure, but something else too. Hurt, maybe. Not the soft kind. The kind that gets locked behind the jaw. You think Richard sold me out, she said. Marcus said carefully, I think he signed what they needed. That wasn't my question. I think he is compromised. Claire stood so suddenly her chair scraped the floor. Tyler looked up from the living room rug. I saw him notice the change in her, and I stepped closer without thinking. Claire walked to the sink and gripped the edge of it, staring out at my backyard. The grass needed cutting. Tyler's bike lay on its side by the fence. Nothing out there belonged in the same world as hostile board votes and pledged shares. He held my hand at my father's funeral, she said quietly. He told me I would never stand alone in that building. Nobody answered. Then she turned around, and the look on her face made Marcus straighten. I want David removed, she said. I want every director who touched this exposed. I want the fund connection documented. I want Richard's shares locked before they move again. Marcus nodded. We can prepare that. I heard myself say. Or you talk to your uncle first. Claire looked at me. So did Marcus. Shannon gave me the face she used when I was about to say something dumb in public. I wiped my hands on a dish towel. I'm not pretending I understand all this. I build houses. When a wall cracks, sometimes the wall is bad. Sometimes the foundation shifted under it. Claire didn't speak. I kept going because I'd already stepped in it. Maybe your uncle betrayed you. Maybe he didn't. But if somebody got a hook in him, he might be standing where they told him to stand because he doesn't see a way out. Marcus studied me now, not dismissing it. Claire crossed her arms. David used him. Looks like it. And you think I should save him? I think if he's trapped, he knows things. And if you give him a way back before the big meeting, maybe David loses more than a vote. That landed. Claire's eyes shifted toward the papers. I could almost see the pieces moving around in her head, fast and sharp. A minute ago, she had been ready to burn the whole structure down. Now she was seeing doors. Marcus leaned forward. If Richard flips, we get the family shares, his testimony on pressure, and proof David used outside leverage. Claire sat back down slowly. Not testimony, she said. Statement. Private first. Recorded only if he lies. Marcus nodded. And no threats, she added. I want him scared of the truth, not scared of me. Shannon looked at me like she was annoyed my point had worked. Tyler wandered in holding 2 Lego figures. He placed one beside Claire's coffee and one beside mine. This one is the boss, he said, pointing to Claire's. This one fixes stuff. Claire looked at my figure, then at me. Accurate. I don't wear a tool belt in the kitchen, I said. You would if you owned one small enough, Shannon said. For the first time since Marcus arrived, Claire laughed. It wasn't loud. It didn't last long. But it changed the room. Even Marcus seemed to breathe easier. After that, the plan came together fast. Marcus would return to New York first, and secure the internal logs through two people still loyal to Claire. Claire would fly under another name from Tampa that night. Her uncle would be contacted privately before the board session. David would think she was still hidden, weakened, and trying to avoid public attention. The directors who had hesitated would receive evidence at the exact moment they had to choose sides. I stood at the counter, listening, feeling the edges of my small life stretch in ways I didn't like. Then Claire said, "Alex is coming with me." I turned. "What?" She didn't look embarrassed. "Just for the first day." Marcus looked between us. "Claire, I'm not asking him to enter board meetings," she said. "I'm asking him to be nearby." "That creates exposure," Marcus said. "I know." I lowered my voice. "Claire, I've got Tyler." "I know that too." Tyler looked up immediately. "Are we going to New York?" "No." I said at the same time Claire said, "Not unless your dad says so." Shannon made a sound. "Absolutely not." Tyler frowned. "I want to see tall buildings." I rubbed my forehead. Claire's expression softened, but she didn't back away from what she had asked. Yesterday morning, I couldn't tell the difference between rest and disappearing. In this house, I remembered. I don't need you to fight my company for me, Alex. I need one person near me who isn't part of it. That was too honest for the kitchen. Too direct. I looked down the hall toward the guest room, where Sarah's quilt was still rumpled from Claire's sleep. For years, I had told myself I was protecting Tyler by keeping our world closed. Maybe I was. Or maybe I had just gotten good at calling fear responsibility. Shannon saw it on my face before I said anything. "I can keep Tyler," she said, not happy about it. "One night. Maybe two. And you call constantly." Tyler protested. "But..." I crouched in front of him. "Buddy, this is grown-up complicated. Is Claire in trouble?" Claire came around the table and knelt too, careful and serious. "Less than I was yesterday." He considered that. "Because Dad fixed it." "No," she said. "Because your dad helped me stand still long enough to fix it myself." Tyler seemed to accept that. By late afternoon, Marcus had left to arrange the flight. Shannon had taken Tyler to pack an overnight bag. The house felt strangely quiet. Claire stood by the back door, wearing her dried suit pants with my old t-shirt because her blouse was ruined. She looked half like herself and half like someone who had stepped out of one life and not fully entered the next. "You don't have to come," she said. "I know. I mean it. I know that too." She looked at me for a long moment. "Why are you?" I could have given some clean answer. Because it was right. Because she needed help. Because walking away now felt wrong. Instead, I told the truth. Because when you walked into the water, I thought I was seeing the worst morning of my life happen again. But you came back, and now I want to see what you do with that. Her eyes shone, but she didn't look away. Then my phone buzzed. "Marcus." Claire answered it on speaker. "Everything is set," he said. "Flight leaves tonight. Richard agreed to meet. David has no idea." Claire picked up Tyler's Lego spaceship from the table and turned it once in her hands. "Good," she said. And just like that, she was no longer hiding in my kitchen. She was moving toward the door. New York did not feel like a city to me that night. It felt like a machine. Everything moved too fast, sounded too sharp, and cost too much. The car Marcus sent for us had black windows and a driver who didn't ask questions. Claire sat beside me in the back seat, wearing a plain navy dress Marcus had arranged through someone loyal to her, hair pulled back, face calm in a way that made me more nervous than if she had been pacing. My phone buzzed every few minutes with updates from Shannon. Tyler ate 2 slices of pizza. Tyler asked if skyscrapers touch clouds. Tyler wants to know if Claire's spaceship is safe. Claire read that last one and looked out the window for a second before handing the phone back. "Tell him it's in my bag," she said. So I did. We didn't go to a hotel. Marcus took us to a private apartment owned by someone Claire trusted, high above a street where taxis kept flashing yellow between buildings. I stood near the window and tried not to look impressed. Claire noticed anyway. "Too much?" she asked. "Everything here feels like it's trying to prove a point." That's not inaccurate. She slept 2 hours. I slept maybe 20 minutes in a chair, shoes still on, phone on my chest. At 5 in the morning, Marcus arrived with coffee, 2 phones, and a folder thick enough to make my stomach tighten. Claire was ready before he finished setting it down. "Richard first," she said. Her uncle came at 7. He was smaller than I expected. In my head, I had built him like some corporate king. Instead, Richard Ashford walked in with tired eyes, a gray suit, and a hand that shook slightly when he took off his coat. He stopped when he saw Claire. "Claire," he said. She didn't hug him. She didn't move toward him. "Sit down." He sat. Marcus stayed by the door. I stood near the kitchen area, out of place and very aware of it. Claire placed 3 documents on the table in front of her uncle. Your loan, the fund connection, David's timeline. Richard's face lost color. I can explain. I hope so. He looked at Marcus, then at me. Who is he? Claire didn't look away from her uncle. The reason I'm alive enough to ask you this myself. That shut him up. For a while, Richard did explain. Bad investments he had hidden. A private loan he thought he could repay. Pressure that started gentle, then turned into signed letters, board language, and meetings he claimed he couldn't avoid. David had found the weak spot and pressed until Richard stood where they needed him. Claire listened without comforting him. When he finished, she said, "You helped them make me look unfit. I was trying to keep it from getting worse." For who? Richard looked down. Claire leaned forward. You have one chance to stand on the correct side of this before the board meets. You will confirm the pressure. You will vote your shares with me. You will provide Marcus with every message, every call, and every person David used to reach you. And if I don't, her voice stayed even. Then I stop protecting you from the consequences of your own choices. Richard swallowed hard. It wasn't cruel. That was what struck me. Claire wasn't enjoying it. She was just done pretending family made betrayal harmless. He agreed. After that, the day moved in pieces. Marcus took Richard into another room. Claire changed into a gray suit that looked like armor without trying too hard. 2 directors arrived separately and left pale, carrying copies of evidence they had clearly not expected to see. David called Claire's old phone 3 times. She didn't answer. Then a news draft surfaced online, saying she was stepping away for her health and privacy. Claire read it once. Release the correction in 12 minutes, she told Marcus. Not now? Let David think it landed. Marcus nodded. I watched her work from the edge of rooms I didn't belong in. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't rush. The woman I had pulled from the Gulf was still in there, but she wasn't running the show anymore. This Claire was tired, yes, but sharp enough to cut wire. At noon, before the board meeting, she stepped into the hall where I was sitting on a low bench beside a fake plant. You okay? I asked. She laughed softly. I was going to ask you that. I'm a Florida contractor sitting outside a Billionaire board fight. I'm doing great. That got a real smile, quick and warm. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out Tyler's blue Lego spaceship. One wing had come loose during travel. I fixed it without thinking, pressing the bricks together until they clicked. Claire watched my hands. You really do fix everything, she said. No, just what still has all the pieces. Her smile faded a little, but not in a sad way. Marcus appeared at the end of the hall. They're ready. Claire took the spaceship back and held it for 1 second before slipping it into her bag. Then she walked into the boardroom. I didn't see all of it. I heard enough. Voices rose, then stopped. David's voice came through once, smooth at first, then thinner. Claire spoke in a tone I recognized from my kitchen table, the one she used when facts had lined up and emotion no longer needed to do the work. She showed them the memo, the false concern language, the timing of the alert, the access logs, the loan connection, Richard's statement, the draft media plan prepared before anyone had confirmed she was missing. At one point, the room went completely quiet. Then I heard Claire say, "You tried to remove me by calling control compassion. That was your mistake. Compassion does not require lies." I looked down at my hands. Sarah used to say I got quiet when something mattered too much. She was right, because sitting there, hearing Claire take back her own name, I felt something in me loosen that had been tight for years. The board meeting lasted 2 hours. When the doors opened, David came out first, face hard, no longer smooth. 2 security officers followed him. He didn't look at me. He looked like a man already calculating how much of his life could still be saved. Richard came out next. He looked older than he had that morning. Then Claire appeared. She didn't smile. Not at first. Marcus leaned close, said something, and she nodded. Directors passed her carefully, no longer treating her like a problem to manage. When she reached me, I stood. Well, I asked. It's done, she said. What does done mean in your world? David is out. 2 directors resigned pending review. Richard's shares are secured. The public statement is mine. And I remain CEO. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Then her face changed. The command stayed, but the woman from my kitchen came back through it. I also created an interim operating committee, she said. Real one, not a trap. I'm taking 30 days away from daily control after the transition. I raised an eyebrow. Voluntarily. Don't sound so shocked. I saw you argue with a doctor you never even met about needing sleep. I was wrong. That sentence seemed to cost her less than it would have 2 days earlier. We flew back to Florida the next evening. Tyler ran into the driveway before the car fully stopped. Shannon yelled at him to slow down, but he ignored her and crashed into me first, then surprised all of us by hugging Claire around the waist. Did you win? He asked. Claire looked down at him. Yes. Did the spaceship help? More than you know. Shannon stood on the porch with her arms crossed, pretending she wasn't relieved. Everybody's still alive. So far, I said. Claire stayed for dinner that night. Nothing fancy. Pasta, salad from a bag, garlic bread Tyler almost burned. She sat at our kitchen table in clothes that actually belonged to her now, but she looked more comfortable than she had in any glass room in New York. After Tyler went to bed, Claire and I stood on the back porch. The air smelled like cut grass and salt from far off. My house was quiet, but not sealed the way it used to be. I don't know what this becomes, she said. Neither do I. I can't turn into someone else. I'm not asking you to. And I won't ask you to fit into my world like furniture. Good. I'm bad furniture. She laughed, then looked at me in a way that made the porch feel smaller. I can come back? She asked. It was such a careful question from a woman who could command entire buildings. I thought about Sarah, about grief, about how keeping a door closed can start as love and turn into habit. Then I thought about Tyler offering a stranger the guest room because he understood something simple that I had made complicated. Yeah, I said. You can come back. Claire stepped closer, not rushing, not taking more than I offered. I took her hand. That was all. Just her hand and mine on the porch outside my small house. But it felt like the first honest thing after a long season of holding my breath. A few mornings later, we went back to the beach. Tyler ran ahead with his shovel. Claire stood beside me at the edge of the water, shoes in one hand, the Gulf rolling in soft and ordinary like nothing had happened there. She looked at the waves for a long time. Then she turned back toward the house, toward Tyler's voice, toward me. And this time, when she walked away from the water, she did it on purpose.